This is a quick report of the David Haye versus Dereck Chisora fight. There was nasty scenes after the Vitaly Klitschko-Chisora fight at the press conference, which I'm sure everyone has seen. So there was a lot of hype leading up to this fight. The fight is literally just finished. David Haye knocked Chisora out with a 5th round knockout. Chisora had never been on the floor in his professional career, so Haye put him down once in the 5th round, then finished him off with another knockdown straight away, which was a knockout. Leading up to this fight, there was a lot of hype. David Haye had been out of the ring for a very long time, just over a year since his last fight against Vladimir. A lot of people were wondering if the same David Haye will show up who showed up against Vladimir and Valuev, who will just run and pot shot. But the same David Haye who fought Audley Harrison showed up, went out there, went for it, and took Chisora apart. Chisora now has 4 losses in his last 5 fights. Fair enough, the one for the EBU title, it wasn't really lost. I don't think many people thought he lost, but still, that doesn't look too good when you lose that many fights in a row. The fight itself, the first thing that surprised me was David Haye showed up and he was wearing trainers. He was wearing just normal Nike running trainers, which I don't think I've ever seen a boxer do. But David Haye showed up wearing trainers. First round, all Haye, picked him off. Good shots. Chisora landed one glancing blow, that was about it. In the second round, Chisora actually managed to land a couple of good shots. Haye managed to take the shots and come back with even better shots of his own. Second round was Haye's as well, as was every round. Third round was David Haye. Chisora got in with a few good shots. At the end of the round, tried to do some nasty stuff. He landed a big left hook when the bell had clearly gone. To Chisora's credit, the referee also said that he didn't hear the bell go, so maybe Chisora didn't hear it. But then when the referee got between him, Chisora shoulder barged Haye. Haye completely ignored it. And the commentators were also pointing out that Haye looked kind of tired in the corner. He was he had a very high work rate for a heavyweight. He was picking his shots up, moving, which is very hard to do at that weight. The interesting thing as well was, when they got in close, Chisora was over 37 pound, I believe it was the total weight advantage that he had at the weigh-in over Haye. Yet when they got in close and they tied up, which they did do frequently, Haye is the one who walked Chisora back and pinned him up against the ropes, which was pretty surprising to see. 4th round, all Haye, picking him off. In the 5th round, Haye landed a very good shot as Chisora came in. He landed a sweeping shot. Chisora was pretty much out of it. Haye landed another punch as Chisora went down, but Chisora was pretty much out of it. Dereck Chisora got up, but he done a very stupid thing out of pure, I think it was a mixture of stupidity and arrogance of that man. He decided to try to throw and go toe-to-toe with David Haye straight after he'd been knocked down, and straight after, he'd gotten back up and he was clearly still hurt. David Haye landed a 4-punch combination, all crisp, solid, powerful punches. Knocked Chisora down. Chisora laid flat on his back this time. He went down hard. He laid flat on his back for a couple of seconds. To Chisora's credit, it was the end of the round. He did get up on the count of 8. The referee waved it off. I think there was enough time for I don't think there was any time left in the round. I think there was about 10 seconds at the most for Haye to actually finish the fight. So I think the referee should have perhaps given the magnitude of the fight, given that there was over 30,000 fans there and all the hype, I think he should have given it a little bit more of a chance to flow, but, a little bit more of a chance for Haye to try and finish Chisora completely off and see if Chisora could survive. Maybe Chisora could have revived himself over the round. But I can't say I'm disappointed at all in seeing Chisora get knocked out. There was no complaints from Chisora, and he did need brief medical attention at the end in his corner. The one good thing for boxing is after the fight, they shook hands, they hugged, and David Haye, along with Dereck Chisora's trainer, who refused to shake Adam Booth's hand, who's David Haye's trainer. He refused to shake his hand at the weigh-in, and there was nasties going on. And as you can see from the photo at the beginning of this video, David Haye and him, David actually swung a few punches at his head at the weigh-in, and they all hugged. They all had their arms around each other and were posing for photos. So that was very good for boxing. Chisora made no excuses. He kept up to his end of the bargain that he'd give 20 grand to the charity that David Haye chooses. That was a side bet they had, that the winner gives Sorry, the loser gives 20 grand to the winner's charity. So it was a pretty entertaining fight. David Haye showed up to fight. It was a toe-to-toe fight. Chisora, I think, has been shown how limited he is. As I said, four losses in his last 5 fights. He lost to Tyson Fury, lost to Vitali, he lost in his European title fight, and nobody really thought he lost that fight, but he lost to David Haye. And I think it kind of shows that, Chisora is pretty limited. I really don't know where he goes from there. Even in British level, Fury's knocked him out. David Price, I'm pretty sure wouldn't have too much of a problem beating Chisora as well. So where Chisora goes from here, who knows? As far as David Haye goes, they're talking. Adam Booth said after the fight, it's either Vitali or nobody. If it's not a Klitschko, he's not going to fight. He's not interested in fighting anyone else. So yeah, it was a pretty entertaining fight, and it was every round, even though Haye won every round, it was still competitive. And on a little side note, as much as I was rooting for the Klitschkos in the David Haye Vladimir fight, and I wanted Haye to get knocked out because of just his behavior before the fight, recently I had a chance to meet David Haye. It was at a premiere of a movie and he was there, and to David Haye's credit, out of all the celebrities that were there who weren't one of the casts of the movie, he was the only one that when people shouted for him, he came over, posed for autographs, signed autographs for everyone. So in real life, he was he was very nice to me and everyone around me. So yeah, just a little side note there, but good fight. If you still haven't had a chance to see it and you get a chance to catch a replay, I'll definitely recommend watching it. It's one of the better heavyweight fights that have been around for a long time. And that's the end of the video review. Just one last thing, a bit of an afterthought. It kind of makes you wonder if the same David Haye that showed up against Chisora, or the same David Haye that showed up, against Audley Harrison, or when David Haye's in the mood to go out there and swing and to really go for it. It makes the same David Haye that showed up against Enzo McLaren. It makes you wonder if that David Haye showed up against Vladimir that night. I still think Vladimir would have won, no doubt about it. But I think that it would have made for a hell of a lot more of an entertaining fight, and B, it would have given Haye a chance. And if he fights Vitali next, even if he has a chance to land a few punches, he's not going to be able to take Vitali out. His chance would have been against Vladimir, and he really let it pass by having such a lackluster performance. So I think his chance of being world champion's gone, but terrific performance tonight nonetheless.